Fabio Di Giannantonio nearly lost everything 2 years ago. Not struggling, not in a rough patch, actually gone. Marc Marquez took his seat at Gresini, and Aldeguer was left without a ride while the paddock moved on. He said it himself when he finally signed with VR46. 9 months ago, I found myself without a bike to continue my dream. That is where this story starts. Not with a talent fighting for recognition, with a rider who was nearly erased, and is now forcing one of the most powerful structures in MotoGP to answer a question it was never designed to face. What happens when the system gets it wrong about someone? And what does Ducati do when the rider they never planned for starts outperforming the ones they did? 3 rounds into 2026, Fabio Di Giannantonio leads every Ducati rider in the championship. 2 poles, 2 Grand Prix podiums, both in Brazil. Aprilia are running away with the overall standings. Bezzecchi and Martin have been dominant. But among the Ducatis, nobody is close to him. And sitting 5th overall, 5 points behind him, is the reigning world champion. The paddock noticed. So did Ducati. And now Di Giannantonio's contract situation has stopped being background noise and become the most revealing negotiation in the paddock. Because what he is asking for does not just affect him. It goes straight at the logic Ducati uses to decide who matters. Let's be clear about what is actually happening here. This is not a rider asking for a promotion. Di Giannantonio already has a direct Ducati factory contract and a GP26. He has had factory status since 2025. What he is asking for is something different and more uncomfortable. He wants guaranteed parity when 2027 begins. Immediate upgrades. The same development priority as Marquez, Acosta, and Aldeguer. Not the bike at the start of the season, the bike as it evolves. And that distinction matters because it is exactly where Ducati draws the line between who they protect and who they manage. The 2027 regulations reset everything. New engine, 850 cubic centimetres. Pirelli tyres, brand new rulebook. Every rider starts the season on equal machinery. But that reset is not equal at all, because within days, the factory riders begin receiving upgrades while the satellite riders wait. That gap compounds. Invisible at round 1, decisive by round 10. Ducati's plan is for that pipeline to flow to Marquez, Acosta, and Aldeguer. Di Giannantonio is not in that group, and that is exactly what he is trying to change. Is that unreasonable for a rider currently leading every Ducati on the grid? I don't think you can make that argument with a straight face right now. But here is what makes this more than a contract dispute. Ducati built this structure deliberately. They chose who mattered before the season started. They signed Marquez and called it a statement. They committed to Acosta and Aldeguer as long-term investments. Collectively, they created a hierarchy. And Di Giannantonio was placed beneath it. Not punished, not forgotten, just ranked. So what happens when the results contradict that ranking? 3 rounds in, they are not justifying the hierarchy, they are contradicting it. Make no mistake, this is not just about a hot streak. Ducati's own general manager, Luigi Dalligna, called Di Giannantonio's ride at Cota outstanding, a dogged race conducted with talent and determination. That is not the language of a manufacturer reviewing expected output. And Di Giannantonio's agent Diego Tavano made the demand explicit. The Digia of 2 years ago is certainly not the same as today. As a result, they want to treat him like a top rider, which is why we're taking a little longer. Read that carefully. The delay is not because Ducati don't want him, but giving him what he deserves means touching the structure they built for everyone else. And that is the part Ducati cannot easily walk back. And the structure is the problem, because once you grant upgrade parity on the basis of current results, you have introduced a principle. You have said performance can override the hierarchy, and that principle does not stay contained. It asks why Aldeguer, sitting 10th in the standings, starts 2027 with the same access as the man in 4th. It asks whether factory treatment is a reward for performance or a tool for managing long-term projects. Who actually decides that? And more importantly, what happens when the answer stops being obvious? But Ducati have always wanted it to be about long-term planning, and Di Giannantonio is making that position very hard to hold. So what are Ducati's real options? Let's not pretend this is a clean call. If they give Di Giannantonio everything he is asking for, they validate the demand. And they create a template every future overperformer can point to. But if they refuse, they risk losing him. 4 teams are ready to move right now. KTM are the most aggressive. Trackhouse entered the picture after losing Aldeguer to Yamaha. Tech 3 and Pramac are not out of it either. I don't think anyone at Borgo Panigale wants to hand a rider performing at the level of their factory leaders to a rival, at the exact moment the regulations change everything. But accepting the demand is not obviously the safer choice either. This is where the story gets uncomfortable, because the most revealing detail here is not what Ducati will decide. It is why the question exists at all. Let's go back to how this hierarchy was built. When asked why Ducati chose Marquez over Jorge Martin for the factory seat, Claudio Domenicali said, "In the end, we believe that he has a little bit more, perhaps." Perhaps. That word sits at the centre of how Ducati assigns priority. Belief, projection, a bet on what a rider might become. And oh, here is the part nobody has said out loud. Di Giannantonio was never that bet. He was the rider they kept because losing him would have been one more loss in a year already full of them. Not the project, the insurance. And now the insurance is 4th in the World Championship. I don't think Ducati were wrong to build the hierarchy they built. Marquez is the reigning world champion. Acosta is one of the most exciting riders in the sport. Those bets made sense. But sense and results are not always the same thing. And right now, the results are telling a story the structure was never designed to tell. Di Giannantonio is not just performing well. He is performing at a level that forces Ducati to either reward him or explain why they are choosing not to. I think that is the most uncomfortable position any manufacturer can find themselves in. Not a rider threatening to leave, but a rider who has made the hierarchy impossible to defend. And I am not sure which outcome Ducati fear more, losing him or the precedent that comes with keeping him on his terms. Ducati built a system that decides who matters before the season starts. Di Giannantonio is now performing at a level that system cannot explain anymore. Whatever they choose next will reveal whether results actually change anything at Ducati, or whether the structure was never meant to be challenged. And at the end of the day, that is not just a question about one contract. It is a question about what kind of manufacturer Ducati actually is. Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.